Well, good morning. What I'm going to do now is walk through the directions again for paper number 3, and I'll also give you a reminder of the suggested outline. The thing to remember with this paper is that it follows the same format and the same structure as paper number 2. So you might want to go back and take a look at that essay, see how you did on it, see what comments I gave you, if there was any problems with the structure of the paper, or if you were working on it and didn't totally follow the structure that we did for the second paper. You might want to even go back and take a look at the suggested outline for that. Now for this paper, the first thing to remember is you also have an outline sheet. So the outline sheet that I posted last week will help you get your ideas together, and it follows the format basically of the paper. If you look through the way the questions are asked, and again, they're designed to help you get the ideas together for the essay, they follow this structure that I'm about to talk about. So the first thing I want to do, and I'll do a screen share here in a second, is just to go through the directions again very briefly. I won't read through every single line of every prompt, but I just kind of want to walk you through it. And then once we've done that briefly, I'll go through the outline sheet, which I'll also be posting on Blackboard. As always, if you have any questions on the paper as you're finishing it up, let me know. But as I said, it's an extension of what we did with the second paper. It's the same structure, same idea, where you have an outside reading that you're responding to, and you're using your ideas on that outside paper in order to discuss something that you're interested in, that you're focusing on. And again, it depends on which of the 3 topics you've selected. They all follow the same structure. So when you're writing about any of them, you're going to follow the same format. But what you're going to be writing about and how you're going to be responding will differ, again, depending on which of the 3 that you've selected. So let me do the screen share here. And let me show you, first of all, where you can find a lot of this information. Just as a quick reminder, if you're in Blackboard, and I'm in one of my Blackboard sections here, they all look the same. So don't get scared if you're looking at it and saying, wait, this is a different section of the class. They're all set up in the same way. So if you go into readings, quizzes, and writing assignments, remember the assignments are always here. So in this section of Blackboard, you've got the directions for the paper, you have the outline sheet here, all the reading assignments for this essay are here. And as you've noticed, now that we're almost at the midterm of the semester, I always set up this portion of Blackboard in this way. So everything that you need to know is here, and it's there as a kind of safety net to help you out. I also think of it, all these reminders, as a kind of map to help you as you're working on these assignments. And I've already got the assignment sheet open, so let me go to that, and then we'll talk a little bit about this suggested outline that you're seeing here on the screen. So for paper number 3, remember, it's a 3-page paper. Now we're already 3 papers into the class. So when I say 3 pages, remember, it has to get to the end of the 3rd page. So that's important to remember. If you're struggling at all in getting that full length, it's usually about 1,000 words, a little over 1,000 words, then ask me, and I'm happy to give suggestions. In fact, if you came up a little bit short in paper number 2, I also gave you suggestions on how you might have expanded on it, and you will have the opportunity to do that when we get to the revision in a few weeks. But for now, a lot of this stuff is the same. You know, you want to have your opening paragraph with the thesis at the end. You've got your supporting body paragraphs and a conclusion. You need at least 2 quotations, as we did for the last paper. Now, in this case, the quotations are going to come from whichever of the writers that you selected to respond to. So if you're doing topic number 1, you're quoting from Evelyn Glennie. If you're doing topics 2 or 3, then you're using Alyssa Harad. So again, it depends on which of these 3 topics you've selected. Also remember, the only sources that you should be using to write this paper would be Glennie's hearing essay or Harad's one of her 2 pieces, either the perfume diet or the piece on the sorbet recipe that she tries to reinvent at home. Now with Glennie, if you do have anything from the TED Talk or even a reference to the Sesame Street video that I posted, that's okay also. Her essay does summarize a lot of the ideas that are in those 2 videos, but don't use any other outside sources. Don't go online and look for additional information on Harad or on Evelyn Glennie or on music or food. Again, it's you in conversation with these writers. That's the crux of an essay like this. So now, as a reminder, if you're doing topic number 1, this essay is all about music or sound. So she says here, and this is from Hearing Essay, a particular piece of music may describe a real, fictional, or abstract scene from almost any area of human experience or imagination. And I mentioned that quotation because in this essay, you're writing about a favorite piece of sound or music that you especially like. And so you're using some of Glennie's ideas on her love of music and sound in order to then express your own ideas on that particular topic. And as I mentioned, it could be a song, it could be an instrumental piece of music that you could write about. It could simply be a sound, as I mentioned in one of the other videos. So that's totally up to you. Now, if you're writing about topic number 2, this topic is focused on the perfume diet, and that's her sort of journey essay, where she talks about how much scent, particularly perfume, means to her, and how it evokes memories, and it gives her a sense of purpose and a sense of almost of destiny. So if you're writing on number 2, again, you're going to first of all reflect on what Harad says in the perfume diet. And then in the second half of the essay, you're going to be discussing whatever that favorite scent is. It doesn't have to be a perfume. It could be a particular maybe food or dish that you like. The scent of that, the scent of I even had a student last year who was working as a mechanic and liked the smell of motor oil because they were so used to smelling it, and it gave them a sense of comfort and a sense of purpose. So you really want to use your imagination. If you're doing topic number 2, there's a lot of options for that. But again, you want something, and you want to select something that conjures a positive memory. It's got to have that positivity to it, right? In the same way that it does for Harad in the perfume diet. Now, number 3 is a variation on the second essay. This one is about food, but it's about the preparation and the making of food. So if you do this one, you could reference the perfume diet. That's an option. Or you can take a look at Frozen Flowers. Frozen Flowers is the blog piece where she tries to recreate the sorbet recipe. So if you do this one, make sure that you are writing about a recipe that you've made, that you've had someone pass on to you. I would ask that if you are using a family recipe that's in a cookbook or in some notes from another family member, I mentioned here, you should cite that source. So I don't want to just have someone copying a recipe from the internet and then putting some commentary on it. You want something that's meaningful, something that comes from the family, something that's been passed down. If I were doing topic number 3, I probably would write about my grandmother's Irish soda bread recipe, which was passed down from her to me and my sister. And it's a great recipe. It's a little different than other Irish soda breads because of the part of the country where she grew up. And so if I were writing about topic 3, I would talk about how significant that food is to me, what memories it brings back when I make it or when I have it. And so again, that's kind of a variation on the second topic. They're definitely related. And one thing that a few of you have asked me, and it's a good question, is that, do we have to, in topic number 3, for example, also cite Glennie? Absolutely not. These are, again, geared towards the particular writer. So topic number 1 is Glennie, topic number 2 is Harad, and topic number 3 is Harad. Focus more on the sorbet piece that I asked you to read for last week. Now, as I do with all of my papers, and I want to highlight this just so that we make sure that we have a sense of how to do these citations, I always have included on all of your papers this sample paragraph. This is a reminder not only of how to introduce a quotation, but how to cite it correctly. The one difference with this assignment from the last 2, you'll notice, is that I didn't include the work cited for you. In the last couple of papers, you were welcome to cut and paste the work cited into your paper based on my directions. This time, though, I think you're ready to do it on your own. And I say that because these 3 readings for this paper are all online sources. They don't have page numbers, right? So you just have the last name of the author in parentheses after any quotations that you use, in the same way that we did for Mike Rose or Toni Morrison in paper number 1. So don't forget to put in your works cited. Do your best to do it. Like I said, use paper number 1 as a model. You can also look at paper number 2, which of course is a little bit different because that was Sontag and we were using a copy of that essay from a particular book source. But at the end of all of my direction sheets, I will always have this reminder on how to use MLA formatting, how to cite it, and how to incorporate it into your paper. Now, let me switch over. Those again are the directions. Again, if you have any questions, you can certainly let me know. They're all included here under the reading quizzes and writing assignments section of Blackboard, as they always are. So let me look at let me show you the outline, and then again, I'll also post this on Blackboard. So here's the suggested outline. It's the same outline as last time. So I'll walk through it with you here a little bit and just give you some reminders. So this essay, as I mentioned here, follows the same format as paper number 2. What does that mean? Well, you'll have an introduction, and the 2 main things that you have to cover in the introduction of your paper would be, first of all, tell me what food, scent, sound, or song you're writing about. Now, you may ask yourself, well, how do I know that? That will depend on which of the 3 topics you've done. So if you're doing topic number 1, you're doing something on a sound or on a song. If you're doing topic number 2, you're doing a scent. And if you're doing topic number 3, you're doing a particular food and the preparation of the food, a recipe. It's still linked in with number 2, but it's a kind of a more specific, concrete variation on that topic. So in the opening paragraph, I need to know those two things. I need to know what is it that you'll be discussing in the second half of the paper? What sound or scent or food are we going to read about in this essay? And then also, please make sure you introduce Glennie or Harad by the end of the first paragraph. Now, what I mean by that is, I want to know how you're going to respond to them. So what did you think of their essay? What did you think of their philosophical reflections on how sound or scent triggers certain memories for them and gives them that sort of sense of purpose in their lives? So you really wouldn't necessarily agree or disagree with Glennie and Harad on this. They're not really those kinds of essays in the way that the Sontag was, but you're still responding to them. Again, imagine that you're having a conversation with them. You're having a conversation about a favorite song. You're having a conversation about a favorite scent or food. What would that conversation be like? You're sharing ideas, not just with them, but also with me. So your thesis should indicate how you're going to use their ideas as part of your essay. So for example, if I go back to the direction sheet that I just showed you, if you were using this idea from Glennie, for example, a particular piece of music can describe a real fiction or abstract scene, that's one way to approach this paper. What does your piece of music describe? Is it about something real, something fictional? You know, what is it expressing? Especially, what is it expressing to you in terms of your memory? So that would be a way to approach the opening paragraph. Then, same as we did last time, you're going to have 2 paragraphs after the introduction where you briefly summarize and then respond to your quotations from Glennie or Harad. Like last time, I've mentioned that you need at least 2 quotations. That's the minimum, but they should appear early in the paper because that establishes the foundation. It's showing me as the reader that you know the material, you've read it, and not only have you read it, but now you have an idea about it. You have a way to respond to it, and that's in the first part of the paper. When you get to the second part of the paper, starting at about paragraph 4, and please try to have at least 2 paragraphs on this. This is the section where you're actually going to talk about what you've selected to analyze. So if it's a song, then describe the song to me. What does it sound like? What's in the lyrics? When did you first hear it? Why is it so meaningful to you? Is there a particular instrument that's in it that's really significant? Do you like the sound of the person's voice? Does it resonate with you in some way? So what is it that triggers that sense of emotion or memory in this particular piece of music? If you're doing topic number 2 and you're writing about a particular scent, maybe it is a cologne, maybe it is a perfume that you like. One thing I've noticed is that because I went to an old Italian barber when I was a kid, whenever I smell any kind of hair oil or lotion, it takes me right back to those moments of hearing that barber telling me these stories when I was a kid. I'd go with my dad. We'd go to every, once a month, I guess, on a Saturday morning, and we'd get great stories from all the other gentlemen who would come into the barber shop and all the other old Italian gentlemen who would also be there. Later on, if you stayed there long enough, they would even take out their accordions and start singing and playing music if there was time and they didn't have a lot of other customers. So when I smell either like a talcum powder that they would use when they were cutting your hair, or any of those kind of hair oils or lotions, I'm immediately back there to those moments when I was a kid and I was at Sal's barbershop and I was hearing all these great stories and hearing these adults, talk about politics and society and their memories of the past. And so that's just an example of how a scent can trigger those memories. And the same thing goes for topic number 3. If you're going to write about a favorite food or a favorite recipe that you have in your family that's been passed down, describe it. What is it? How do you make it? When did you first have it? What kind of memories does it evoke? And so that would be the second half of your paper. Now, you've already provided that foundation from the outside reading from Glennie or Harad in the first half. So it's in the second half that you really get to have a lot of fun and give me those concrete descriptions and those memories that might be associated with, again, either the sound or the scent or the food. And then in the ending, this is something I mentioned in some of your papers from topic number 2. You want to make sure when you're ending that you give a balanced sense of the whole paper. By that, I mean that because Glennie and or Harad are going to be significant in the first half. When you get to the end of the paper, you don't want to leave them out. You want to go back and offer some final reflections. What have you learned by writing this essay? What ideas have been inspired by reading them and then writing on your own, again, sense or sounds. So again, think of the paper holistically. You've covered not only their ideas, but also your own ideas and your opinions. And so the ending should be a strong reflection of that. All right. I mentioned a couple of other things here on this outline, which, as I said, I'll also post on Blackboard when I upload this video, to make sure you have a works cited essay. Again, because Glenny and Harad are both online readings, the format looks exactly like what we use if you quoted from Mike Rose or Toni Morrison in paper number 1. In the body of the paper, you would have a citation that, for example, would look like this. I'll type it in here. So let's say that this was a quotation from Glenny, for example, according to Evelyn Glenny. So Evelyn Glenny is reminding you there should be works cited. You'll have her name, her last name in this, right? So again, if you're doing an online source, that's what it looks like. There's no page numbers to include because it's online. It's very rare that you're going to have a page number for an online source. So you would have her last name at the end of the sentence. And then remember, in the works cited, you want to reference the essay, whether it's Glenny or Harad. For the model for that, take a look back at topic or paper number 1, okay, the Mike Rose paper, because the works cited for that shows you a very generic, basic format for any online source like the Glenny or the Harad. And if you have any questions on that, you can ask me, but I want you to try to do this on your own this time with the works cited. You can also go to the OWL, the online writing lab at Purdue. That will give you more samples of how to cite these in your works cited. But I think if you use the model that I have up for paper number 1, you're going to find it very easy to do this on your own. Okay, so let me go back. Let me stop my screen share there. Those are some basic reminders for this paper. So basically what I need you to have you do now is just be working on it. I hope you enjoy this one. As I probably mentioned in one of the other videos, it's not quite as serious in some ways as the Sontag paper was. I think this one has a little more joy in it, and it allows you really to write about the kind of memories that you were developing in paper number 1 in topics that I think we can all relate to in some way, you know, whether it's on music or whether it's on food. Of those 2 ideas, I think there's at least one that you'll find something interesting to engage with and to write about. So as always, send me a question. If you want me to take a look at a draft, I'll be happy to do so. Later this week, what I'm going to also be posting will be the directions for our midterm revision that's coming up in 2 weeks. So you'll see that later this week, and I'll talk a little bit about the readings that are associated with that. But for now, focus on this paper. Send me an email, please, if you have any questions. And I really look forward to looking at what you're going to decide to write about for paper number 3 and what ideas you come up with for it. Okay, so I'll see you later, and have a good day and be writing those papers, and I hope you enjoy doing them. See you later.